What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the Brown Gent. Today, I'll be talking about Zomedica, our favorite pet healthcare company. And as you guys know, this is a company that makes up a part of my speculative portfolio, one of three stocks right now in this bear market, with Zomedica, Nano Dimensions, and Marathon Digital Holdings. So, as a reminder, Zomedica is almost like a mini conglomerate company, first started with the advent, or at least their promise, of launching a diagnostic tool called truforma. And then they have acquired many other companies and brought them into the fold. Companies such as PulseVet, which have really changed the game for their entire company, because that is realistically where most of their revenue has been coming from. But at the same time, they have their CAP initiative for truforma, which is really a trial program, a trial before you buy, getting the pivotal truforma device into clinics without the upfront cost or barrier of these clinics having to pay to install them themselves. And then they've been charging them for the cartridges that are used in truforma. And just to remind everyone, the value proposition of truforma is to keep those pet tests in-house, expand the quantity of tests that you can do in a short period of time, and the future promise of expanded testing so that it's not just like a one-time only device. Think of it like buying a Nintendo, and instead of having a preset list of games, you buy the original starter pack with a couple games, whether it's Mario Kart or something like that, or the original Super Mario Brothers with Duck Hunt. But then you know that you can go to the store, and over time they're going to buy, or they're going to create a bunch more of these different assays that you can use in collaboration. That is really the value proposition of truforma. And if you're a vet, if you're that vet who's thinking about bringing that into your clinic, the idea here is the tests are so much cheaper, and you can start to pass on those savings to your customers, because typically if you're a pet owner, yes, you do care about your pet, but at a certain point you're like, wow, these tests are super expensive, and it allows the clinic to make money off the tests as well, versus just having to run them and hope they get them in time, and also annoying their customer base at the same time. Now, Truforma's rollout hasn't been the best. They used to think it would sell itself. I think it was listed on a website a couple of years ago. They've realized that they need a dedicated sales force, which is why they had a sort of restructuring a couple of years back, or a year and a half ago. It feels like a long time since we've been in this bear market, right? And then what's happened since is they've created that CAP initiative, right? Customer Appreciation Program, where customers are able to basically get the clinic to have truforma installed, very low cost to them outside the cartridge, and it's doing pretty decent. Now, today I wanted to talk to you a bit about a couple things, but before I get into it, just a reminder, if you haven't followed me on Twitter, follow me at the Brown Gent YT. You can join our free public Discord at discord.thebrowngen.com. It's really spades investing, where we talk about the stock market, cryptocurrency, and trading. And if you have any questions on any of these stocks, this is probably one of the easiest ways to get a hold of me. Be careful though, because there are some people trying to impersonate me. They're doing a pretty bad job, but just something to keep on top of your mind. If I'm sitting there messaging you, asking you for money or something, you know something's off. You know what I'm saying? If I'm asking you for any sort of details of your financial accounts, that's definitely not me. Um, the other thing here is also make sure you like the video and hit subscribe. Liking the video is huge because, number one, even if you don't like me, what this does is if you have Zomedica, this pushes the video out to more people and gets more people to sort of see the value proposition of Zomedica and sort of why I've chosen to purchase it. And I'm sure some of the reasons why you've chosen to purchase it. Also, if you do like this content and you want to see more of these kind of videos, make sure you hit subscribe. As a reminder, nothing here today is financial advice. I'm just documenting my journey. And, if you guys sort of align or believe in the things that I believe, perfect. If you don't, at least it's another point of view. Let's see who's in the chat. We got our old boy here, Andrew Turpin. Yo, buddy, how's it going? This is somebody who I've actually been trading with more frequently over Discord, so he can probably tell you about his gains. He's been doing pretty good. 2023 has come up all Andy, which is fantastic. We got Timothy in the house. Yeah, let's go ZOM. This is an amazing startup with amazing potential. And that's the only reason I'm covering it on the channel, because I believe in it. And yes, Andy Turpin, he's in all three. He's in Zomedica, he's in Mara, and he's in Nano Dimensions. These are the three stocks that I think are speculation stocks. And on another note, Apple, which is one of the pillars of my stock portfolio, at least it is part of my standard stock portfolio, has actually hit all-time highs today. So we finally have it as a $3 trillion market cap company. About a year ago, Apple was sitting here in like 125 range. I bought a bunch of Apple between 130 and 140, and like that's a gain of 41%. You know how hard it is to gain 41% in a company that like everyone knows is gonna do well? Like I have like an iPhone in my pocket. I got even like a Apple Pencil like right here that really does nothing. I'm recording on an iMac. I truly believe in Apple. I think the world has got to really screw up for Apple not to be a huge top company. And that's the thing. When you have these opportunities, that's where money's going to flow to first. And then once they have been pumped up, then the next step is finding other companies where there's potential. And Zomedica is one such company. Remember, the difference between spec and your actual high conviction portfolio. And Andy says it really well here. Like when I first met Andy, his stock portfolio was full of low grade pharmaceutical companies, random pump and dumps, and penny stocks. Look at his account now. And I'm sure, like, Andy, if you want to share, like, like what are your biggest sort of stocks, or what were the biggest stocks for you over the last few months? I would love to, hear that from you. Hey, Trucky, how's it going? Or we'll say Pete, but we'll call him Trucky. Mara, top winner. And hey, Toadfather, good morning. How's it going? So let's go and talk about the topics for today. So number one, is there any relevant news, right? So the first thing I'm going to do here is let's just zoom out, and there isn't really that much news, but let's sort of go over sort of what was posted on June 9th around TruView, which is like the CC molecule or the CC device. So basically, I don't want to go into all the details here, but basically Zomedica was launching this digital microscope, and basically where it helps is in slide preparation, and that will provide best-in-class images. Remember, a lot of Zomedica's focus is in diagnostics, right? Like finding out what the issue is. So what they're saying here is microscopic examination of blood and fluids is the standard of care in the vet industry, and it's utilized by essentially every vet practice. What TruView does is it combines the advanced optics, the automated slide preparation, and telepathology with an easy-to-use interface so that you have amazing quality, and that would basically boost the vet's diagnostic confidence, right? So by doing so, you would have the highest quality slides on the market, right? Preparing cytology slides and making blood smear slides are critically important to cellular investigation and diagnosis. Some of these things are like high-level concepts. Some of these things sort of are obvious and make sense. Basically, the TruView microscope features the TruPrep automated slide prep system. That way, you don't have to manually prepare the slides, and that also means you sort of miss all the things that people already find annoying, which is smearing, drying, fixing, staining, and washing. And all of that's going to be handled by TruPrep, right? So you get high quality, and you don't need a technician to sit there and sort of make sure they're doing all this process like in a specific way. So they mentioned this digital image and telepathology component with the easy to use interface, right? So that gives you that multiple diagnostic options you're looking for. So you're able to read the slide directly on the microscope, review the slide digitally from a remote computer, or you can send the image to a Zomedica pathologist. So this is really creating that ecosystem for vets, right? This is the number one thing with healthcare. Sort of everyone knows how to get stuff done. How do you make things easier and faster, and make it like so it's not a complete annoyance for the healthcare practitioner, right? This is the case whether you're in veterinary medicine or you're in people medicine, right? Like actual medicine. And the reason I say that is this is why AI has been such a big boon, because what AI does is it figures out an algorithm, and this is sort of how it works in healthcare, and it minimizes the steps. So you're actually able to diagnose things through algorithms just by providing the data. And this is why it's so important, because even these new diseases, it'll find patterns for you. This is why, like, the concept of AI, like, it's not just the sort of robotic stuff that we always see in movies. It's like these like logical systems, right? And building all of that up is huge. So what Bill Campbell, who's the VP of Imaging at Zomedica, said is the innovation of the automated slide prep feature has been a critical need in the industry for years. They've taken every step to make it easier than ever for clinics to have consistent slide quality, reduce human error and waste, while also delivering reliable results, right? So they automate this. So what that does is it significantly improves the efficiency of vet practices, making sure that they spend the time diagnosing their patients. That's what they can focus on versus focusing on the process, right? So this microscope actually represents the latest innovative technology launched by Zomedica that combines advanced optics with automated slide preparation and really empowering those vet professionals with a powerful tool that enhances their diagnostic capabilities while also like alleviating their workflow. So they launched the TrueView system a few weekends ago at the PacVet conference, and now they're going to offer it to practices participating in Zomedica's CAP program. Remember, this is what we talked about for truforma to get that needed trial. And the microscope will be placed in practices with no upfront capital required through a monthly subscription service, in addition to fees for slide interpretations that will provide high margin revenue for the company, right? So as we build inventory, we'll widen the launch as essentially all vet practices could benefit in several ways from adoption of the TrueView system, as they will receive quality images, professional interpretation, and positive impacts on both workflow and cash flow. And that's sort of what the CEO said. So remember, this came as a result of the divestiture and acquisition of Revo Squared, right? So this is very important, and this is another pillar of revenue, right? It's sort of like what Xerox does, which is like they used to be, they used to sell printers, and maybe to a smaller extent they still do. But I used to work for Xerox head office early in my career in internal marketing. And what they actually did was they would rent out printers and charge people for the copies. And because the biggest pain point was not the price of printers, it was the constant, oh my God, the printer isn't working. I don't know if you've seen Office Space, PC load letter. What the hell does that mean, right? Well, it's sort of like that. You don't want to sort of own the device and have to deal with all the issues. You want to have a one-touch service. You'll pay way more for printing. I think it's like 10 cents for a black and white copy, $1 or like 80 cents or something for colored. But then with that pricing comes the, hey, let me call up my Xerox person and get somebody in to fix the machine when it's not working, because I don't want my IT staff or for me to have to figure that out. Let's see what Andy's saying. Mara, he's up 400 pounds in 3 months, maybe. Yeah, and by the way, this is very important with context, right? Context is key. This is on a 3K portfolio. It's incredible. And this is 3K after he's at 400. So like 400 pounds, and now he's sitting at 3K. So like it was like 15, 20%. Next one, hopefully NNDM. Yeah, NNDM is another company we covered yesterday on the channel. Make sure you check that out. I'm going to see if I want to do more of these live streams, because as you've noticed, it's so much easier for me to pump out content versus having to do a lot of prep and do a lot of all that other stuff. Here, I just turn the camera on and I'm able to record like this, right? So you guys let me know. Do you prefer the more polished videos where there's like all these like fancy graphics and everything else that I'm creating? Or do you prefer me to have videos much more frequently? You guys let me know in the comments below, because I'm definitely going to sort of take that feedback. Andy, thanks for watching. I'm sure you'll watch the rest of this later. So that being said, that's pretty much all the news that we have for now, besides the fact that, as a reminder, I made a video on this before. They had record financial results in the first quarter of 2023. right? $5.5 million. Zomedica is still not profitable, but remember, this is on the path to profitability. They're building out their work streams, and they're building out their revenue streams, and every single one of these pillars, right? Truforma, PulseVet, and now TruView, right? All of these things are going to keep adding value to the company. And what's going to happen is over time, the company is going to become profitable. And there are two things that'll have to happen for the stock to go up. But you know what? Let me just talk about that as we go into sort of the next topic. So, what can we expect from Zomedica? Well, this is exactly where my thinking is. We are currently in a risk-off environment, right? So there's no doubt about it. If you think about Zomedica and all these other like stocks that sort of skyrocketed back in 2020, it was because there was a ton of free money floating around. There was a ton of people who got into the market, right? They got their little checks, right? They got their like subsidy checks. I forget what they're called. I'm Canadian, so we didn't really get those. But they had a ton of money. You had a ton of people stuck at home, unable to go to the stock market. So you had a ton of volume. Now, I'm not expecting the stock market to like increase in users per day or people sort of visiting it per day or interacting with it per day. But what we can expect is as rate hikes become less frequent, right? And we've heard from the Fed, I think they're expecting two more this year, and I think they should be close to having it under control. Once that happens and inflation's under control, all of a sudden, that's a green light for risk on activity, right? All of a sudden, there'll be a lot more money available, right? A lot more money available at lower prices once we get those interest rates come down, right? And what that means is all of a sudden, people can be a little more speculative with their money. This goes back to exactly what I said at the start. The smart money is not putting their money in Zomedica first. They're starting first with Tesla, with Apple, with Nvidia, big tech companies that have huge ROIs that were significantly undervalued, that were cut, had their prices slashed significantly as part of the recession. But once those companies have been topped up, people aren't going to sit there and put money in there with haste. Like at $200, which is where Apple is close to, Apple is not as high, as doesn't show as much potential as other companies. So all these companies get topped up, and then the next companies are less less obvious and less obvious and less obvious. And then you got a company like Zomedica, which I wouldn't say is a fringe company, but it's definitely a speculative company because it's a startup. Then you'll have people look to put money into there. So that's sort of where I see this happening. And Zomedica can speed up the process at any time by showing their path to profitability and actually getting the results that all of the shareholders like me and you combined believe in. Just to show that point, let me show you Nano Dimensions. So Nano Dimensions, and I'm just going to take this off right here. Nano Dimensions is a stock that wasn't doing too well recently, but over the last few days, they've gone up 21%. What did they announce here on Wednesday? Or I think it was even Thursday morning. What did they announce? They announced their first profitable quarter. All of a sudden, a 20% increase, and we see it continue to go up. I don't expect this to sort of being done running, but we can expect much of the same for Zomedica because there's a ton of money looking for these great opportunities, right? People aren't sitting there trying to donate to companies, and they shouldn't. They should be out here trying to make a ton of money. And I think that is sort of what we can't forget about, right? So that being said, I suspect that a couple of things can help Zomedica. Number one, risk on environment back on. This will see a significant bump in Zomedica's price, in my opinion. Remember, not financial advice. Number two, the other thing that I think can really help is Zomedica showing more acquisitions or showing that they're profitable right now, right? The acquisitions are very important because they did the same thing Nano Dimensions did. They highly diluted their shares when the stock was on a huge run up. And by doing so, they locked in a ton of cash that they have been using to purchase other companies, bring them into the fold, and bolster their business. PulseVet makes up like a lion's share of their revenue. I think it's like 90% plus. And they bought this company with the proceeds off investors who had bought into Zomedica on the speculation of truforma. So that is really where I think Zomedica can go. I think it goes up from here. There may be some periods of downturn, but that's all related to market events, unless something happens where like they find out that all the results from Zomedica are all faked, like they did in Theranos. I don't see like a sort of black swan event causing anything else to happen. So the next topic I wanted to talk about is how does a reverse stock split work? And the reason I'm bringing this up is people have been asking in the comments. This is probably the most common comment I get. Oh my God, are we going to have a reverse stock split? No one wants a reverse stock split, especially not those who are in control of Zomedica. So the way a reverse stock split happens is basically, let's say, for easy terms, you have Zomedica sitting at 20 cents, right? Let's say they choose to do a 5-for-1 reverse stock split, then people would trade in 5 Zomedica shares to get 1 new Zomedica share at $1. So you keep the equity, right? So 5 times 20 cents is $1. Now you get 1 share worth $1 versus 5 shares worth 20 cents. And this is typically used to collapse the company number of shares in order to meet listing requirements. Now, on most exchanges, the listing requirement is closing over $1, right? On the NYSE American, which is the exchange that Zomedica is listed on, the requirement is actually 20 cents. So what will happen is, in order for Zomedica to potentially be delisted, here are the events that have to happen. I'm just going to show you this with the share chart. So this is Zomedica share chart. We're sitting at 20 cents-ish, right? So what happens is, and this is a year to date, when Zomedica is below 20 cents for 30 consecutive business days, so that's 30 consecutive business days, at which point a flag will be triggered, right? Then Zomedica is being asked by the exchange, okay, you had 30 consecutive days where you didn't go over 20 cents. You now have 6 months to have 10 consecutive days where your price is over 20 cents. It closes over 20 cents, mind you. If they aren't able to do it, they can then get extension of another 6 months. Failing that 1 year where they have to get back into compliance after that 30 days, at that point is when they will be asked to do a reverse stock split. We are so far out of that it doesn't matter. And right now, I'm just going to check the last 5 days. Where did we close yesterday? Yeah, so we closed yesterday at 20 cents. So the timer reset. Like if for all these days where it was sitting at like 19 cents, the moment we closed over 20 cents, the timer reset, so it doesn't matter. This is something I sort of want you guys to see, because even if this happens, they have like a year, and we expect great, and we should be out of a recession within a year. Let's just say that, right? So I would not worry about a reverse stock split. If that happens, very I'd say sub 1% chance of that happening. Then the management will put that to a vote, and the people will decide. I typically don't like reverse stock splits, because when that happens, stocks just tend to sell off like 80% right after. Like, I'm yet to see sort of this not happen. Hey, Andrew, thank you, and happy long weekend to you too. I for my company, we're actually celebrating Canada Day today versus the Monday. So this is why I'm on here today at like 10:30 a.m. presenting. Timothy, I would prefer that Zomedica goes to $10. Yeah, I think so would we all. Can you imagine? That'd be fantastic. That's like a 50x from here. I will take that. I will take that right now. So then finally, what are my swing buy and sell zones? So let me go and show you my my trading view for Zomedica. So what happens over here is, this is here. Let's go to the super charts over here. So this is where Zomedica has traded. This is a daily chart, right? So you can see here some of the lines that I've drawn for Zomedica. We'll just sort of pull this out so you can sort of see it collapse back here. And I hope this is sort of clear. So like you can see here, like we hit 15 cents back in December. We really we pivoted up to 33 cents over the course of 2.5 weeks, which is a fantastic, 100% plus profit, right? And then we sort of sold off. We haven't really come back to those highs. We've sort of traded between the like 18.65 cent range and this like 22 cent range. So if I'm looking, and by the way, right now I have 10,000 regular shares of Zomedica. What I would do here is I would really focus on buying below 19 cents. So between 19 cents, and I put like here, but pretty much all the way down here, like I would sit here and buy Zomedica, right? Anything below 19 cents, 19.1 cents. And this is for my swing shares. So I want to make it very clear. My regular shares, I'm not selling until we hit past the EMA. So I'm looking for about 50 cents for those 10,000 shares. But once we get down here for swing shares, I'm going to load more of that. So I got 10,000 hold shares right now, right? And I got 3,000 swing shares that I will be selling or start to sell once we hit 23.3 cents. This is sort of my sell zone, right? So this is sort of the next line of support. And the idea here is as we approach it here, I expect it to bounce off this line, bounce back down. So as we come around this area, I'll be selling a bunch of my swing shares and more if it goes even higher. If we come down below this number, I'll be buying and topping up my swing shares, doing it obviously incrementally as a ladder. So I'm not just buying all of it here, but I'm going to keep sort of phasing it out. That's sort of what I did here. Originally, I was buying swing shares in this zone around 21 cents and below to 20 cents. And then we sort of sat there trading here. So like I can't really take profits here, right? So that's sort of my sort of strategy. And once again, I do believe in Zomedica long term. So that's really like why I have sort of two components. The long-term holds, the 10,000 shares of Zomedica, which aren't even worth that much. They're like $2,000 right now, right? My average cost, I believe, is like 19 cents. And they're 19 cents because I've been doing a ton of swing trading. So it sort of like kept that cost low. And then my 3,000 swing shares are sitting at 21 cents, which is ironic because it's higher, right? But once we hit 23.3 cents or close to that, I'll be selling those 3,000 shares. Not all 3,000 at once, maybe 1,000 there, 2,000 at 25 cents, we'll see. And I'll be topping up as we go below. So my takeaway message here is a couple things. Number one, we are in a risk-off environment. This is a perfect time to accumulate Zomedica shares, especially given the sort of the progress we're seeing by the team, sort of like the renewed confidence that a lot of us have, especially with that revenue result from the first quarter. And we're starting to see the Fed stop tightening as much. So these are all positive signals. Remember, so many things can be right with the company, but if something happens in the macro environment, it can still bring the company's value down, right? And we're seeing early, like the lagging indicators, right? The leading indicators, which is the tech companies are doing phenomenally well. We're going to start seeing that cascade down into sort of the mid caps and then the sort of the small caps. And once we start seeing that, this is where I expect Zomedica to pop. Like I said, from the start of the video, this is not financial advice. If you found this video helpful, make sure you like and subscribe. And thank you for watching today, and I'll see you in the next video.